Do you see software-led transformation having a significant change in the relationship that manufacturers have with their customers?
Yes, I would say
So
yes. Yeah, go ahead, Neha.
yeah, maybe I could add on there. It also depends on who the customer is, if we sort of dissect the question, right? Where they are located, what's the market, what's the geography, what are the local driving conditions like, what are their usage patterns, what are their preferences. For example, for late adopters, the whole cockpit experience with all the infotainment and all of that could be used to generate interest and even move them from the interest to a stage of more serious consideration. On the other hand, in the US, Tesla has recently been getting a lot of negative publicity over the perceived non safety or risk of its so called self driving or assisted driving features. So, in general, safety and security, including cybersecurity of digital car keys, might be uppermost on a consumer's mind. On the other hand, B2B customers, the fleet managers may prioritize telematics and remote services for stability and security, like over the air updates, remote diagnostics, all of that. So, yes, the relationship with the customer is going to change going forward. In fact, I have interestingly come across some news articles which state that many consumers do not even know they had certain connected features in their cars, even after they purchased it. And some root cause analysis has shown that this generally probably happened during the handover process when the salesperson did not really fully explain all of the features that were available for the customer to use, the entire potential. So, what happens is, even though the vehicle is connected, the customer is disconnected.
Hmm.
And automakers and retailers really need to address this problem quickly to get more customer involvement and buy in, and thereby direct access to the customer.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So it's important to connect the customers, connect the vehicle. They can get a
Yeah,
bit carried away connecting just the car. That's
right.
really interesting. Um, and then something else we've spoken about, the amount of change OEMs need to go through. How far along this transition do you feel they are? And are they all at similar stages, or is there a huge diversity between where they're all at?
Well, there's one clear front runner, and technically, in terms of an entity that is an OEM, and that is Tesla. Tesla is seen as a leader for connected services, even as traditional OEMs are actually losing ground in customer perception. However, that doesn't mean they haven't taken any efforts at all. For example, PSA recently introduced a blockchain solution for insurance and maintenance services around their connected cars. BMW is exploring the personalized service model with heated steering wheels and seats that could be booked in winter time, and also geofencing for their hybrid models in Germany. Carrier, which is the in-house software division of Volkswagen, is acquiring front camera software business from the software specialist Hella Mobile Vision to develop automated driving functions for all their group brands. And Volkswagen also has this tie-up with Siemens and AWS on this concept of industrial cloud. And recently they have opened this up to other partners as well. So yes, there is a range of diversity, no doubt, and that's how you can actually see it all playing out in the market.
That's really interesting. And do you think, you know, do the large OEMs have an advantage over the new niche players because of their resources and their capabilities, or do you think their sheer size and their investment in old technology is holding them back? Is it a strength to be a new player, or are you stronger being an incumbent?
Well, there are challenges to being an incumbent. Definitely, yes. On the plus side, OEMs have the customer base to start with. That is a big plus. However, they are essentially just trying to adapt the old model, instead of recreating something, really reinventing themselves. They have only recently started realizing the importance of data and building strong in-house data capabilities. Um, if you compare that with the mobility startups and the tech companies, they are starting afresh with really customer centric models and a very collaborative work culture. So even though OEMs have the customer base, it is the tech companies that are really focusing on the customer. Yeah, you would assume that OEMs have huge budgets, but then so do the tech companies and even startups, thanks to the deep pockets of VCs, right? So it's essentially a battle of top line and bottom line. In fact, I remember reading a quote from one of our automotive experts that it is not a level playing field. The Californian companies can deliver huge losses every year as long as they can show a top line, whereas the German manufacturers have to deliver profit every quarter.
Yeah, interesting. So it does come back to almost financial structure as much as anything else.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
this is where the partnerships come into play, where a customer base, the OEMs with a strong customer base say, hey, let's catch up and be friends with a startup who is really pro in technology and can bring quick solutions on the table. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And then just finally to wrap up, we've spoken a lot about how software software is changing what it means to be a car. Really, do you think the OEMs are being adventurous enough in reimagining the vehicle? You know, do you feel they're taking small steps, or are they taking truly large strides?
So I have a definite view there, which is personal. So just last year, we heard from one of our global CIOs, clients from Germany, where he made a very pertinent point. He said, uh, if you look at the mobile phone, when it started, it was like a big fat walkie-talkie kind of form factor. Whereas if you look at the car, it has remained roughly the same shape for several hundred years. So uh, basically, I don't think they have really reimagined it. And even I believe Tesla, if you look under the hood, it's empty. So why is there a hood, that kind of a thing? So I think there's a long way to go because right now we're just taking what the car is, the way we've seen it, and we're trying to do something with it. But I don't think they've reimagined it completely. That's my personal view.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that? Anybody? Or being as imaginative as we can be?
Or and then I always look to the movies, so
Yeah.
if I look back, all the James Bond features are with us now, right? Whether
Yeah.
it's a car or the watch or the phone, we have them all today,
Yeah.
including the retina scanning and everything.
Yeah.
If I looked at the Back to the Future, we were rewatching that movie a few years ago, and we noticed that they had shown that in 2019 or something we would have flying cars. Well, we don't have that. And then my other favorite comes from the Minority Report, where they have these personal pod-like things where I just hop in and I just reach where I want to reach. That would be my personal
Yeah.
favorite for personal mobility. So we are not there yet, in my view.
The
No, we've got a lot.
Flintstones cartoon I would relate it to, right? But yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's some amount of air mobility being tested in China, but which is again a very huge thing. I don't think people like us would be able to find that much of space in terms of parking it in our
Yeah.
building or so. So yeah.